What's up, everyone? Oh, Richard, good to see you.
How's it going, Eric?
I think it's the first time I've recognized the face, but not the face moving around in real life, so it's good to see you. I think I had Kelly's note taker request to record. Should I approve it or no?
Kicked it out. I kicked it out.
Oh, you did. Good man. Safe space. Even though this is going to be, even though it's going to be recorded, but we'll send you the recording. What's up, everyone? This is great. We got some people coming in. Oh, Jess, good to see you.
Hey.
Matt's here, Zach, Christina, Holly, Anna, love it. All right, we'll give it like 2 more minutes, let people trickle in, and then we can get kicked off. Um,
Real question for the group. I know this is a roundtable about Claude Code, but how many people are actively responding to questions from Claude Code during this and multitasking? I would guess like 50%, right?
Probably.
this is me being vulnerable in front of this group, but I just realized that you can change the settings. I've been using Cowork mostly, and I've been using Cloud Code in the desktop app, which I know is first of all is a faux pas. But then I just realized you can change the settings to not have to do approvals of the permissions and automatically approve everything. I kept just like yelling at it last night. I was like, automatically approve everything, dangerously skip permissions, and it wasn't doing it. And I was like, why isn't this working? And then I realized you just change the settings. So big, big moment for me. It was awesome. All right, great. We got some more people coming in. Sweet. All right, cool. If you guys want to put in the chat, just drop your LinkedIn profile and what's got you excited about Claude Code, whether it's something you're building or something you want to learn. And then I highly encourage everyone to connect with others in the chat here. We're all learning and just trying our best to figure stuff out. So this should be a great way for people to connect with each other and connect people trying to solve similar problems as yourself. Um, Great. I'm very excited. I got my co-host Chris Sheptree in here, VP of Marketing at Tori, one of the first people to get me on the Claude Code bandwagon way back in the day. Uh,
Me
Are
too.
you actively using it now?
I mean, like I said, I don't know how actively, if I'm, but I use it quite a bit, especially co-work. I've been building
ಒಂದು
out my
ಸೆಷನ್
OS.
ಫ್ಲೂಮ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದಿದೆ
Been muted.
ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಫೇಸ್ಬುಕ್
Um, yeah, I've been building out my OS, which has been really good. Been using co-work a lot. I've been trying to build a couple things for Domain Collective. So thanks to you mostly. So thank you. But anyways, we got Chris here who's going to co-host with us. We're going to have a couple people come up and share a quick demo of what they built and then open it up to Q&A to share how they built it. Um, and then depending on how quickly we go and how much Q&A there is for each, we may have time for anyone else to come up with demos. I'll also say, uh, I would love these to be a recurring thing. And so we're likely going to do more of these. So if you have something you're building that you think is exciting and you want to share with the community, just hit me up, DM me, and I'd be happy to figure out how to best share that with people. All right, we're about to get into it. As with everything in Demand Collective, we got some of the smartest AI pilled marketers we could find in a room together, sharing all this stuff with you 100% for free. What? Isn't that crazy? It's free. The only reason it's free is because of our amazing sponsors. I'm just going to share them quickly. These are all people who have sponsored the community so we can do events like this. Calvermind, attribution for enterprise complexity. Seam AI, AI native 6 cents, basically. That is really cool. Scrunch is a great AEO tool, and they help you optimize your content for how agents browse so you can like fork traffic if it's agents or people, which is interesting. Vector, Kelly from Vector's in the chat. They do person level ads on every channel, can target people based on person level intent, which is kind of nuts. And then Wildcard, who do insanely personalized one-to-one ABM. Expensive, but if you need a meeting with some specific person, they do these like insane one-to-one ABM campaigns. So check out those sponsors. Tell them Demand Collective sent you. We'll do more cool events like this. All right, that's that. Let's get into it. Chris, do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, I can kick it off. So in the demand collective, what are we not calling a webinar, right? Summit. from last week.
Absolutely not. Oh, the summit. Yeah,
Um,
also not a webinar, but this too.
so I gave a little presentation. It was 15 minutes to do 6 different use cases for how I use Claude Code. So there were some like paid ads, project management. One of them is the one I'm going to talk about right now, and it's using Claude and a couple of other systems to do programmatic SEO. And in this situation, specifically creating listicles at scale. I made the same joke in the summit, but the thing about listicles, like I understand I'm contributing to AI slop and content slop by doing this, but listicles, I think we can all agree, are marketing slop, regardless of whether a human or AI makes them. And I am just taking out the human part of that process. So, I can do better things like write better content. So, really, I'm helping the world with this initiative, is kind of how I look at it. So, Claude Code is kind of the key instrumental process tool in this process, but it actually uses a bunch of different ones. So I'll share my screen and okay, I got a request sharing. Let me know when you get that, Eric.
Yeah, you're good.
Cool. All right, now I gotta press the button again. Let's just do desktop. All right, y'all can see my terminal?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically the question is how, why is it not? All right, my bar, there we go. Why is the bar always blocking things? Okay, there we go. Okay, so question is, how can I create an article like this? Okay, it's looking at listicles in this case, talking about tools for doing access review, who has access to like what settings within a SaaS tool, how to do this in like 3 seconds. And that doesn't account for all of the work that went into building the system. But once built, how do we do it in like a couple of seconds? And as you can see, there's nothing special about this, but there's also nothing not special about it. It looks like any other listicle, pros, cons, how it works for that particular tool, etc. So the way that this is set up, and it did take a while, and there was a lot of human in the loop for the first like 20 or 30 of these. And then since it's been, I trust it, there was enough human in the loop for a while. So there we go. It begins by me using Claude commands, which if you aren't familiar with commands, they're just like saved prompts. So let's open this folder, for instance. So it reads from these files, and I've got a Tory blog one. And it basically says, open up Linear, which is my project management tool. I connect through MCP, go through it, create a copy of the template that we have, and then start going through it. And update me as you go through it. So I just pull it up. I say Tory blog. It says, what is the ticket you want to copy? And then it proceeds to do what's in the ticket. Now, what's in the ticket? This is a tool called Linear. I really like it because of the MCP integration. So you can connect to your project management tool, say, hey, what's this project I want to work on? Or like, can you read this project and do what it says? So I've got this like pretty long list of things that it needs to do. And so a lot of it is like, all right, read the list of tools that that currently exist. And that tool is this file. And so it says, all right, let me look through these tools to make what ones have already been created. I don't want to do one of that. Let me pick randomly another different tool. And then it has a bunch of guidelines that it follows. So we've got writing guidelines, which is a bunch of different ones, things to avoid, getting out AI slop markers. I then have the instruction to tell Claude to do a revision guidelines with Opus. So it's basically like, all right, I assume the first version you made is pretty mediocre. So let's rework it. And I've also done like, for like more advanced blogs, I'll like have like 3 to 4 steps of revisions. But you can see like overly perfect structures, redo that, make the transitions natural. So it goes through this. Let's pull it back up. And I don't have it do
Chris, are
FAQ
you going in
schemas.
and writing in that file directly yourself, or are you telling Claude to write the file? This.
It's a mixture. Certainly, I think as the models have gotten better, you can just like one shot it and say, hey, look for AI markers, and then create a list of things to have it remove. I think this was originally built maybe like a year and a half ago when I was doing a lot of this with some earlier models. So I kind of manually went through and was like, all right, this is terrible. But the nice thing about I mean, Claude Code, any LM, but like especially with Claude Code with commands and files like this, is you can be like, hey, why did you do this? All right, go back and update the file to never do this again. So you can like iterate with it through the Claude MD files and then like revision guidelines files, like whatever you want. And that's really nice to just like
I do
iterate
the
on the
same.
fly.
I just don't edit the file directly. I just say, remember this for this project or for all projects, and I don't go in and edit
I
the file.
Yeah, the memory, especially because Claude's gotten a little bit better with that too. I personally really like exhaustive Claude MD files.
Yeah.
So if you don't have this, if anyone doesn't have this, it's supposed to be reading the main Claude file every time it loads up in that repository. And repository folder, and you give it rules, and then you tell it like directory structures, so it knows where to look for other files. It's a good little table of contents, effectively. And then each of the subfolders have that. Not each, but some of them have that to tell it like, hey, this is what's in this folder. So highly recommend doing that if you haven't, because it does help to cut down rampant token usage, because it knows exactly what to look at to find. So go back here. So yeah, it then goes down and it uses a mixture of like deterministic scripts and LLM to create the rules here. So I have it randomly create the list of vendors it should do. So it does 5 through 8 inclusive. So it's like, not everyone's going to be the top 7 vendors. Helps a little bit with that like dynamic syntax and making sure Google doesn't assume that like all of this is programmatic. So, it does that. Then it randomly picks the slug as well. And this again is done through Python. So it randomly picks it, but Claude runs the Python. So you don't need like a separate script. So it just runs it internally. It's got different formulas of the same listicle concept, again, to add a little dynamicism to it. Creating the title, same thing, comparing blank tools across access functionality. And then you get into, okay, so we're still working on the block here. I'm going to start it. So this is, like I said, pick a SaaS tool. So it's looked at and I'll say, okay, we need to do it for RAMP. And I think this is the last thing I actually need to do before it's live. So really, I just have to run the command and then pick one of the SaaS tools. Y'all work with Claude. It's not the fastest thing, right? So I'm not going to sit here and make you watch this, because this is going to take like 20 minutes to make. But that kicks off the process. Yeah. Okay. We'll just wait as it saves the issue.
We'll watch it save.
So, like, what are we at? Did it? I don't even decide basic details. Yeah. So that's where it's at. Anyway, so it would go down this and start doing all of the steps. It would be using Claude to write the article, revise the article, and create it locally. So with this this setup, I use a static site structure using Jekyll, and then just like standard HTML, CSS. But it gets added to this, I believe, and it just knows the template it's supposed to use. It just recreates, it copies the existing template, and it adds in all of the data in here. The images are pre-compiled, which is nice, through this folder. So it says, hey, once you pick the vendors, go in based off of their name and pull the data about each one, their pros and cons, and then also pull their respective image. Maybe it's this one. So it goes to that. So That way it doesn't have to go and take the images and, add that level. You've given it the structure of, for these listicles, what should be in them, but it's going to decide randomly which ones will fit there. I also have it do some research of like, do a Google search for these vendors and that vendor functionality capabilities. And if it finds anything new, it'll introduce that to the article as well. So it isn't just pulling from these files, it is doing a little bit of research. So, if I'm wrong or anything, it'll surface that. And then as it goes through, it'll start to add call outs and visual styling. And again, this is like in the listicle scripts, I think in the Claude file, I have it talk about the styling components. This is how the callout should look. This is how the table should look. And it inserts that into the article. And then let's see where it is right now. So, it says, all right, I've got the tool, I've got the vendor, slug, da, da, da. I would say the final thing that is added here is, let's go back to the ticket, creating the cover image. So this Claude then pings a tool called OpenRouter. OpenRouter is just like a marketplace of APIs. So you get an API key and then or API, a marketplace of LLMs. So you get an API key and then it can ping whatever model you want. So here I have it ping Google Nano Banana and say, hey, I need a cover image, right? Cover image aren't anything special. It creates this, but it does that as part of the process. It also randomly picks a palette color, so the UI can at least look a little bit different if you're looking at different articles. And then it's done. I then add some just Python scripts to add fact schema and a fact and a table of contexts. And the reason I don't use an LLM there, you certainly could, is just tokens. Like this stuff is pretty easy to say, hey, just create these like structures. This is what it's to look like, and then pull data that is in the article over. And that creates the article. So again, let's see where we're at. It's starting the writing, but I put that in, and then like 30 minutes later, I come back and this is live, and I'm like, cool, great. For anyone doing programmatic SEO, this is just a side note, not related to Claude Code. You do have to be very careful. So basically, like when I say programmatic SEO, I kind of just mean being able to create content without a lot of work. But I've realized if you do more, at least us, I mean, other companies may be allowed to write more, but if I do more than about 10 to 15 articles a week, they don't get indexed. And even with these, I manually go in and index them. So this is not a like, oh, I can create 1,000 and suddenly be driving a ton of traffic. It's like you do have to be concerted. 10 a week is still like a good amount of content to be putting out there, given the time commitment it takes to create them. And then you can also do like more valuable pieces of content. But it's definitely not something where you're like, oh, I can create 1,000 pieces of content this month. It's gonna be great. Google will not index those. And then even when you go and manually index them, it like won't let you do that either. So I do 1 or 2 of these a day, index them manually, and then like repeat. So yeah, that's the main flow. Again, like as you can see, the functionality here is enabled through MCP, the linear ticket, which is, I mean, I guess theoretically you could put that as a command, you wouldn't need it. I like linear just because it's easier to read. But you could have that, I guess, as a full command. You wouldn't need that. But using like the mixture of Claude files and MD instruction files, having a tool for calling or creating the images, making sure you're using a mixture of deterministic and probabilistic tools, because if you just say, hey, pick a random number, it'll like always pick 6 or 7. It's just like, that's why you have to say, use a random Python script to say, what number to pick. So you want to be careful of that because it does tend to err. And it's not actually random for a lot of things. But yeah, so that's what I do. I really like it. There's a lot of other use cases as well. I'm sure there's a transcript from that summit that you could look through if you're interested.
Love it. All right, this is great. The the using Python to like use less tokens insight is very interesting and something I should look into. Kelly just said real quick, what impact have you seen on the SEO side, if any, that you can share?
Yeah. So I'll split it up into the access review ones and the like previous ones that I was doing for like 4 to 5 months that this was originally built for, which was around more IT automation, like how to add users from to your Google account programmatically, how to remove users, how to track costs in OpenAI. Those saw a really dramatic increase in blog traffic. So we saw about 4 times more blog traffic within like 3 months after introducing those. The access review ones, which is a very niche use case, and because we're trying to get into security a little bit more, I work at Tori, in case that wasn't said. Those just like aren't high volume terms, and it's kind of an experiment I've done. Is I've done about 75 of these, so it's not seeing the same growth. It's more of a function of like this was an experiment. But the other ones that I was putting out, and I probably did 300 of them, saw some really nice growth, about 4 to 5x. So I think we went from couple maybe 500 a week to like 2,000 a week in inbound traffic for blog articles.
So cool. Okay, we got to keep going because I want to make sure everyone has time. If you guys want to, if Chris is open to it, if you guys want to ask questions in the chat, maybe, and Chris, you can answer in the chat, or if you guys want to ask more questions, I don't know, join Demand Collective would be a good idea. All right, let's see. Lindsay, you want to come up next?
Yep, you guys ready? Okay, I'm gonna share my screen here.
Yo, that was so quick. Let's go. You're ready.
I'm in it. Let's do this. All right. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Cool. I'm gonna give you the tip of the iceberg on how I'm using Claude, Seam AI, and HubSpot to create BDR daily actions. So I've been in this game for a minute. I used to run and head up 6sense at a cybersecurity company. Now, if you've ever used 6sense, what you do is you push it into a Salesforce list based on stages, and your BDRs will work a list. They'll open that list, they'll open the account record, they'll view the 6sense widget, and within that widget, they can sort of toggle between there, and then they try their best to prioritize. There is no contact data, it's just going to be account level. So then you have that manual bridge. You have to go find your own information, check out their LinkedIn, try your best to find what your hook for your product offering might be based on some of those search topics, and then go source your ICPs in another tool. So the result was there's really no real way to help them prioritize. And oftentimes it felt like I was giving my sales team a heavier lift than I would have liked to. Now it's like a light year difference. So now we have Seam AI. We have contact and account data. You have everything, you guys, with Seam. You have social signals, intent signals, website visitors, ad engagement, fit scores. And where this gets really important is this is pushing all into HubSpot. So you see here, this is an actual screenshot of what I'm obtaining. Claude can read this. So then we have our data points mapping to HubSpot, and Claude's going to read it. And the results that we're going to get, everything's served up super nice for my BDRs. So just to reiterate before I show you guys the demo, it's Seam into HubSpot, HubSpot connected to Claude. So let's get it. I'm going to share just my Claude. Perfect.
Sweet.
Okay, starting with a small prompt. Hey, using HubSpot and Seam at the contact level, give me the top 10 things my BDR should work on. I gave it a few things, show me site visits, intent, click on emails, but it's going to capture it all and it's going to give me my forms anyway. It read it out to me. Cool. Let's look at this. So here are all the 10 things. And if we dive into this, you guys, this stuff is super actionable. 3 hours ago, this person converted. Let's move fast. This one, he's actually visiting my AE's calendar. hit up Ravi, my AE, and loop him in. Make sure this is good. Do your work. Seam stuff. Love it. Check this out. Here we go. I actually have a reason of what this individual might be interested in. And stay with me here because I'm gonna just blow your mind for a second. If you use Ask Centaur, if you ask your admin of your Claude to set up things to read your own database, like your own internal search, check out what your BDR could do. Do I have anything on that? You sure do. Check it out right here. So, a couple things here. You have this. If you can do this, you can do so much more. And you can surface this in different ways. So, okay, I want to talk about a little bit. I think this is up for debate. You can keep it in Claude. You can put it in an HTML. You can export it. You can do, Nick from Seam just told me about Shad. I haven't checked it out yet. Let's say you wanted to maybe take it out of Claude. I actually think I'm not going to. This is new for me. And so what I'm going to do is sit with my BDR for like 15 minutes, set up a co-work for him. Then he has this, okay? And then he or she can actually query and ask more information. Tell me more about that account. Who else is in that buyer's journey? And let me stop here for a second, share my deck again. Okay. If you can do that, can you imagine what you really could do? And I'm sorry this is all grayed out. I was in cybersecurity and I am in medical AI. So all numbers are blocked out here. But you guys, this will give you real CRM data that I cannot show you, but it's endless. So I'm making these for just specific AEs for their deals, for their ops, obviously my own MQLs, my own SQLs. What I want to tell you guys is the future is here. We just have to build it.
Let's go. What an inspiring demo. And a bunch of
Is
claps.
Centaur the is that the public name you use, or was that an internal name that
Centaur
you
is the
call it?
company that I work for. If you want to set up an
Okay.
internal thing, I can send you guys the link. It would be like Ask X, Y, and Z company.
So this is crazy. Lindsay, you showed me this. I just dropped it in. It's the Claude Enterprise Search.
You
I don't know
have
if
to
people are
check
using
this
it,
out. Yeah.
but it's basically a very similar to what a Glean would be. You basically just can connect all your stuff and then it's better at searching it. I don't really know like how it's different than using a bunch of connectors, but
Well, there's a lot of difference, you
how-
guys. You have to think about governance, you have to think about meta. So do this with caution. Work with your admin, okay? You might not want to pull your whole Google Drive, but something different from this demo with the Ask Centaur stuff or the Ask Internal Your Org. I posted on my LinkedIn. It has really, really improved my content development because now I'm pulling solution briefs, white papers. I have a one-to-one ABM workflow that I hope to show you guys once I flush it out. But in theory, in one prompt, tell me about this account, what's their pain points, create a white paper, and then I'm trying to look at Moda to connect their MCP and then create an ad. And here's my one-to-one campaigns, just crushing it out. Using my own data, my own insights, my own product stuff within my org. So it's really cool. If you're sitting there with HubSpot and Claude right now, go connect it. If you're sitting there without Seam and you have HubSpot and you have Claude, go get that free POC and at least do a trial of a subset of your database, play with it, see if it's got some juice for you.
hell yeah. Questions for Lindsay. What do we got? Okay. If we have no questions, does anyone have a golden nugget insight takeaway that is triggered for you of like, oh my God, this
I
is something
actually
I
have a
want to know?
question for Lindsay.
Yeah, please.
You said, Lindsay, I forgive me. Did you say you're already using this with your BDRs or you're just starting to? I'm curious what the response has been from them. Have you seen like a dramatic increase in their success or anything?
Sure. So I have a small team. I have one BDR. Um,
Okay.
he prefers Claude. He's also a very technical individual, so he loves it. What's cool about this is I actually didn't have to do that 30 minutes to set it up. I just showed him what I was doing, and then he just like takes it to another level. But that's the whole point, like pass the key, right? Like, here's what I'm doing. You're the BDR. What else do you want to see? Maybe you want 50 things to do today. Maybe you want to see this in a different way. That's just like literally like opening up the door for them.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions or takeaways that you think are interesting to the group?
Aren't you already doing automated plays within Seam AI? Because that's its kind of whole thing.
Yep, I do automated plays that push into HubSpot and you can see those like through list, if you will. And you can do a dashboard within your HubSpot. However, if you want to use Claude to have that intellectual layer to like push it all together or bubble it up, this really brought that to light for me. Our HubSpot, you guys, we're a startup. It might not be perfect. Okay. So Claude is like helping me to catch those things. Like I can do the reverse on this too. Hey, how many of my MQLs are unassigned? It's endless. So I'm just showing you one instance, but yes, there's 1,000 ways to slice it. So this is what I found worked best to bubble up kind of everything and then to put those little tags in there from Seam.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks so much for sharing. Uh, does your setup also like pull from ICP documents, or is it all kind of synthesized mostly from like CRM data and Seam?
Well, no, because I'm using Ask Centaur. So within Ask Centaur, I have my persona doc, my ICP, my job
Okay.
titles, I mean, everything that I would use for like my keyword strategy for Google Ads, all my juice, it can read, but it can also read what are my ops seeing? Okay, one of my favorite things to do with that Ask Centaur thing, you guys, is ask it what my CEO is talking about these days on open channels, okay? Hey, what's it saying about the Harrison petition for FDA? What's Alex saying about it? I get like real juice for real TLAs that are like giving me confidence, right? To like go out and pitch this stuff because I'm like, this is what you said. This is how I kind of want to lean into it. Here's a great white paper we could be doing on it. My focus really is to like help my AEs drive pipe, and this is how I'm doing it. Holden, I think you're the one I reached out to because you have really cool HubSpot skills in Claude, right?
Oh, yeah. We were
Your
talking
name
about the
looked
LinkedIn
familiar.
ads
You got to
API.
demo
Yeah.
that for us because I want that.
Yeah, let's go. The next
I
one
need new HubSpot templates in skills from Claude. Show me.
and the DSLOP
Okay.
one. All right, we got to keep going though because I want to make sure everyone has time.
We'll
But
talk on Slack. Sorry.
what's that?
We'll talk later.
Yeah, and then hold on, we'll bring you on to the next one of these to share your, especially your DSLOP skill. That sounds quite useful. All right, let's go. Max, you want to come up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
Cool. Yeah, excited to show y'all what I've been cooking. I didn't really prepare a specific use case for this, so I'm just going to show you my brain. I asked my brain to prepare a one pager to chat through. But effectively, I love many things in this life. Do I love working? Not so sure. So I built something to make working a lot easier. And I basically spent the last 2 months building an OS to try to replicate what I do and have all of the context that I have to make the right decisions that it needs to make. And of course, trying to calibrate this thing to my taste. So what I built is something called MaxOS. And MaxOS is basically a local series of markdown files. It is a shit ton of files. We have 1,000 of them, 62,000 lines of active text. And at a very high level, you can basically think of this as it is a bunch of context about Alchemy. So I lead growth marketing. Sorry, I never introduced myself. I'm Max. I lead growth marketing at Alchemy. We do crypto infrastructure, powering every DeFi app, prediction market, bank that's building on chain. Developer tool space, super exciting, super buzzy. Life is a roller coaster, and we love it. And so I basically have fed MaxOS a bunch of context about our company, what we do. Who's our ICP? What is our performance data? What is our strategy? What are our goals this year? What are our products, etc.? What do I do? Who are my teammates? All this information gets fed into this system. And this system now runs through everything that I do. I know that this is a Claude Code session. I am a Cursor maximalist. I'm the 5th most active user at Cursor at my company. We're 200 engineers. It's kind of wild. I am non-technical. But this whole system runs through that. And at a very high level, how this works is for any given marketing task that I do, we run through the same sort of like boot execution protocol. This is a lot of context. There's no world in which you could read all this context and have this be workable in a single session. So this thing is largely designed around the concept of progressive disclosure. Hey, read what you need to. Here's the table of contents. Here's how you can find exactly what you're looking for. And so at the start of every session, this Max OS system will read a handful of files. There's this system file that's like, hey, here's your routing table to understand everything that is in Max OS so you can find what you're looking for when you need it. Here's some context about the business. Here's context about me, what I like and how I want you to interact with me. Standards. Gate checks are like so important to prevent hallucinations. So I basically have an entire document specifically for that purpose. Hey, go back, check your work, fact check everything, fact check it again, because the first time is never enough. And that's sort of how this works at a very high level. So like we boot these core protocols. I have a bunch of different playbooks that run. You can think of playbooks. I mean, y'all are, I think, pretty AI pilled here, but for me, that means things like, hey, you're writing a blog. Hey, you're writing some ad copy. Hey, we're producing a new landing page, whatever it may be, unique skills for all of these things. And then I think maybe my favorite part about this system, because I'm lazy and I don't want to keep giving the same context over and over again, is this sort of learning concept. So every time I offer a correction, because there's always corrections, the system itself will just log everything that I fix for it or tell it that it's wrong, sort of in a corrections folder. And then periodically, every couple of weeks, I'll ask it to audit those corrections and then push like patterns that it learns about things that are wrong into more durable surface areas, into the playbooks, maybe even to the core routing table and so on and so forth. So that's sort of this learning loop at a very high level. In terms of how I work, there's basically three spaces. An inbox, hey, I drop new files into here. Hey, parse this, read this, tell me what you think about this. Here's a proposal. Here's a bunch of data. Help me synthesize it. There's a workspace for things that span multiple sessions, and then there's an outbox for anything that comes back. And that can be things like, hey, there's a blog draft that needs to be pushed. There's ad copy. There's some strategy doc I need to share internally, whatever it may be. What else did we cook here? I haven't necessarily been fully vetted all this. So yeah, there's a bunch of supporting directories here. The archive is ginormous. This is where I sort of house all of our performance data. Some of you might feel this pain point, but our security team is pretty buttoned up and won't let me YOLO connect to all of the various applications that we use to store our data. So for me, for now, it's a lot of like manually exporting and pushing this data to my local system, this Max OS. So that's what this archive is, and it can kind of reference all of that data on command. So what does that translate to in practice? Here's some highlight reels of the things I've done with this thing. Among many things, I'm a professional CMS hater. This is like a new job description for me. We migrated our entire website to hard code. And so we now just vibe the whole thing. And so Max OS is sort of at the core of that orchestration. One thing we've done recently is we do a lot of programmatic SEO, which Chris touched on at the beginning. We are 15,000-ish pages ballpark of a website. It's quite a beast over many, many years. And as you can imagine, that creates a lot of SEO debt. Inside of a CMS, it's a nightmare to handle. Now that we're hard code, very easy. So we fixed 26,000 issues over the span of a couple weeks, just handing SEO audit data, Google Search Console data over to Max OS and just say, hey, find the patterns, fix it in the code, run. So that's like one major work stream that we've done, written entire ebooks end to end, both copy and design, programmatically shipping, new landing pages, handling launch materials and just super quick in a handful of sessions, diagnosing, campaign misalignment of like poor optimization in Google search ads or whatever it may be. I think the thing that like I would encourage this group to be thinking about that I found super helpful is basically because everything is in one system here, it has all the context it needs to make the right decision. So like default LLM models kind of will give you the median. They will give you the average of the thing, which is not what you want. You want the 90th percentile or even better. Having one system that hosts all of the context that you would give it as if you're training a junior coworker is super helpful to actually get to that 90th percentile point. So because it knows so much about the business and because I keep training it and giving it so much context and because it keeps course correcting, it's actually able to execute this at a reasonable high bar. Though, of course, protecting against slop is always a fight. And maybe one fun curveball, this thing wrote my annual review because if I'm running all my work to this, it knows my work better than I do. So that's a system at a super high level. Maybe I can even quickly share. Where is my other window here? Yeah, so cursor, For those of you who are unfamiliar with it, this is just a beautiful UI. I love it. But so sort of what this looks like in practice to show you a couple files. Here's the one that we load on every boot system that tells it everything it needs to know. Hey, we're building an OS defined by excellence. Come on, folks. We love this. And it has like kind of this like progressive disclosure concept I was talking about of like, hey, here's your brand voice. Here's knowledge about all the products. Here's where you go to learn about our audience. And there's a sense of progressive disclosure of like reference everything that you need here. Here's how to use the system. And basically has these like operating rules. Here's this task routing table. Every time I mention social, you'll note to reference these documents to help you execute against that task. And then maybe one last preview would be, and you can even see here, one thing I love about cursors, you can see file diffs. So periodically I have macOS refactor itself and audit itself. I did that most recent run yesterday. And so you can see this exact pattern here in the corrections folder where the corrections folder is just a static log of things that it did poorly. I don't ask it to internalize those mistakes because those things take maybe a handful of times to occur to know that it's like a pattern that should be fixed. And so those errors are sorted into categories. Here's a general one. Here's one for SEO work that it did poorly, blog writing it did poorly, etc. And then I basically will periodically say, hey, read corrections, identify patterns, and then update the more durable surface areas like the system file, like a playbook. Maybe it's the working with Max of like, hey, polish expectations weren't clear and we need to work on that, whatever it may be. But yeah, that's my brain. That's Max OS. That's what I'm using to basically automate my entire workflow. So basically, as a marketer that's non-technical, I pretty much use Cursor first for everything now, which is kind of wild. And I think I saw this yesterday. Many people have like a leaderboard. I ship 11, like I'm the 11th most prolific agentic shipper at our company of 200 people. And that's purely enabled by macOS. Um, yeah, that's the thing. Happy to answer any questions if folks are curious to learn more.
Funny from Daniel. Daniel said, calling yourself a marketer is non-technical as a wild cause. That's funny. Dude, this is awesome. Thanks so much.
Do you
This is great.
are you initiating these actions like through a terminal or a GPT, or is this running in the background automatically? And if so, are you just like connecting it to an LLM API?
I just run it all through Cursor. So in Cursor, I can like choose my model. Max OS right now is hosted locally on my computer. There's a number of reasons for that. I think one is I'm trying to calibrate it to my taste, which isn't necessarily the same taste as my coworkers. And so there is some like political massaging of, hey, here's how you're going to interface with this particular person. That's how granular this thing is. I am exporting macOS for like all of my marketing team. They're now running this thing too. Ultimately, it would probably live in a GitHub repo as like a more shareable artifact. But for now, I basically have cursor rules installed that says like, hey, reference this local file set whenever you do anything.
How are you
Do you have any
exporting?
notion of costs of doing all of that with like the checks and balances that it has?
Just in terms of like token burn,
Mhm.
uh, depends on the week. High hundreds of dollars to low thousands. It's not crazy. Yeah. But yeah, not cheap either.
I got two quick questions. The first one,
Yep.
you had like the inbox, those like workspaces.
Yep.
How does it actually work in practice? Like, are you in Cursor? Do you like have different places where you can start
Yeah,
projects?
yeah, exactly. I think of it just like an email system. So like the inbox would be, every call transcript that I'm on gets dropped into the inbox. So this thing learns and builds context about what I do. If I have a specific set of instructions, like I don't know, maybe I want to hand it the latest week's data of like our Google paid search performance.
Mhm.
Maybe there is a proposal from some third-party vendor around
Yeah.
like paying for an event. Whatever it is, I'll drop all of that context into the inbox and say, hey, look at this new material. Uh, if it's relevant, maybe it makes it smarter. It will get incorporated into macOS. But a lot of it is like, hey, here's some more information to help you make a decision. If that decision needs to be shared externally, that will appear in the outbox. Some decisions span multiple weeks, so then those things live in the workspace, and it's like an ongoing work stream.
That's super interesting that in like the or getting things done book, they have like the inboxes where all your work. It's interesting to think as stuff comes up, you can just pop it in the inbox, and then later when you're actually sitting down to do work, you can just like go through all of the
Oh, I do it with literally everything, like your
Yeah.
newsletters, Emily
Right.
Kramer's newsletters. Like I put all of Lenny's podcasts in there, like anything that I think is interesting. Like Gary Tan at Y Combinator is building his own brain. I drop the GitHub repo in there. I'm just like, hey, take a look at this. Is my system better than this? What can we learn from this? How do we improve? And it's like maybe like one meta note for this group that's interesting is this whole system, which is now 60,000 lines long, started with a single prompt of like, hey, I want you to build a memory system. And then over repeated prompts, it got more and more complex. But getting started is actually quite easy. Um,
Totally.
yeah.
Um, Questions?
How do you, so what, one of the problems I have is the world has expanded so much, I can do everything. And so my productivity's 5 times, but my amount of work is 2 times, and it's too much, right? And so how do you limit what you take on? Because I can say yes to everything, because I can do it way better than anybody else, but that's a bad idea.
I mean, I think it depends on the role, right? Like everyone will spike in a different skill set. You might be better at training an LLM to do one particular task over another. Every business strategy has variance. Like the same playbook doesn't work for everyone. So I think it's up to you to determine what your point of highest leverage is and focus on that. Um, and honestly, like I will say that building your own brain and just asking it the question is super helpful. Like one of the ways that MaxOS is most useful to me is like as a thought partner. Hey, I'm wrestling with this. You have a lot of data. You have a lot of context about the business. Help me wrestle with this decision. And you will have to wrestle with the fact that the LLM wants to be a yes man to you. But there's very
Oh
easy
yeah.
ways to prompt around that and say, steel man the other side. Hey, be critical. Pretend you're someone else. And so to that end, it's like it's really useful just as somebody to think issues through with.
I've recently built in, after a 2 month saga making breaking stuff in production. I recently built in pre-mortem concept. So every time it does something significant, I ask it to figure out what are the 5 way, think forward 2 weeks. What are the five? It's failed. Tell me the 5 most likely failure things that went wrong, and then discuss those with me and take them off. And it stopped me a couple of times of shipping stuff where I thought it was right, it thought it was right, and it was way off and would have broken stuff. And so having that discussion ahead of time about it's broken, why, has been really helpful, and to
Yeah,
put through that.
yeah, my experience totally aligns with yours, Mark. You have to like even like with my brain, which I routinely tell me like Max is an idiot. Like your job is to get him back on track. You still have to, I think, often forcefully prompt this thing to like, hey, take the other side of this and be
That's
critical.
built
Like,
in now.
yes, yes, you cannot default to yes. Yeah.
Every time I release something significant, it has that discussion and all the stuff, and it worked. It stopped me from doing something a couple days ago that would have fucked stuff over.
There you go. Nice. I love
Okay,
it.
this was maybe too aggressive, trying to get 4 people with a bunch of marketers who are like obsessed with this stuff and want to go down a bunch of rabbit holes. So we have one more. I want to make sure Jonah has time. But Max, this was awesome. When you showed
Yeah.
me this the first time, this is the first thing I started doing was building my own OS. So I hope other people have the same
Yeah. If folks
reaction.
have
If you guys
questions,
want to
happy to
put
chat in
questions, yeah,
Slack. Always here
perfect.
to give advice.
Yeah, throw the questions in Slack. And yeah, if you just have any golden takeaways from this, put them in the chat. That's just helpful insights for me. All right, we got the last one. Jonah, you want to come up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Let me share here. So I've got a few live things that I'll share, but most of this is contained in the deck. So this is really like a whole, start to finish ABX workflow using Claude Code. So there's kind of one prompt /prospect. CrowdStrike.com is the example I'm using here. I work at a network security company. We just signed to Okta in December, so like CrowdStrike is kind of like one of our #1 ABM targets this year. So /prospect CrowdStrike.com kind of kicks off this whole workflow of sub agents. So a bunch of agents do a bunch of research in parallel, all in the background. They kind of come up with a bunch of different things. These are all tied into different data sources that we have. Some are external, some are internal. We use BigQuery as a data warehouse that has like our CRM, it has our call transcripts, it has signals, it has a bunch of stuff in there. Same thing, I think one of the people earlier was talking like using Python to query BigQuery is like the sort of like the system that we run. And then a bunch of agents sort of write the deliverables and sort of like the second phase after it. So in this case in CrowdStrike, it went out and it sort of like found these specific sort of angles like into CrowdStrike. Two champions that we have, we've like kind of scraped that data already, put it into our data warehouse, a bunch of different people that sort of is like, it maps to like our ICP and who we want to talk to. Went out and queried the Blitz API to get verified work emails and phone numbers. And then actually like sort of strategized the content and like built the landing pages, kind of gave our reps social content talking points to be posting about after they've connected with these people on LinkedIn, and then like add variations that we then imported into Figma so that we can kind of test those at scale. So that's sort of like surround sound like approach is really like what we wanted to do. So like this is one of the landing pages here. This is the landing page that was sort of built for CrowdStrike. This was sort of strategized by Claude and then implemented via the Webflow MCP. So this is kind of pulling existing, like we integrate with CrowdStrike, our company does. So this is sort of like kind of a better together story in a sense. But this is like, the specific landing page for them. Talks about how we work with them. This is the so the ads that Claude generated. We've like directly connected this into Google Docs because our team like wants to like review in Google Docs. That's just like the place where people are, right? So like we have like a private Google Docs app and Google Slides and everything app that we can plug Claude into so that we can actually like do the review there. And this is, quite a lot of info, and we end up like, I'm still trying to work through with our salespeople ultimately like how we do this. I feel like a CIA agent when I was blocking out some of this personal data here, but this is like this huge account plan basically. So this is talking about like our number one target is this person who's a champion. They just joined in December of 2025. They're like an engineering manager at CrowdStrike. Another person is a little bit lower down. They're also like a champion. And so it's sort of giving you all of like these things. These are like executives that we found and mapped to our decision makers. This is like huge. It's like super long, right? It's like crazy long for our salespeople to consume. So we're still trying to figure out like the best way to do that. I think that like they like to read all of this and just consume it, but like ultimately like we have like the sequences, right, that like are the execution for our salespeople on the actual sales side of the ABX program. And so we take this, we have them like sort of approve and look at stuff in Google Docs, but ultimately we've built a private outreach MCP to actually create the sequences in outreach that are these custom ones, so that we're not like copying and pasting and stuff into the outreach sequences. So yeah, this is like sort of a call script, right, for this person, like who's a former champion of ours, and this is like the first thing, right, that we're gonna go try to do on this account plan. So we try to like push those tasks and emails and stuff like back into the systems where the reps actually live, so that like it's not just like living in a Google Doc, because ultimately that's not like a super helpful thing. So yeah, that's sort of like this, ABX workflow. It's like, how can we kind of do all the marketing content? How can we do like the organic like content, and then how can we do like the sales enablement as well? So just like, I guess as I was sort of putting this together, by the way, Claude made me this deck because we have the Google Slides MCP, which is great. So I just was like, hey, what are we doing with our prospect workflow? Let's make the deck. So as I was sort of thinking through this, for like, okay, what are the things really that sort of, I think, make this work and make our salespeople like really like this? The anti-ABM golden account plan was like this pre-work that I did before, where I like went back and forth with Claude about like, what is bad ABM? And like, now let's make a plan about good ABM, because like I don't want to get lost in the noise to all this random people on LinkedIn, right? So like, let's try to figure this out. One of the suggestions for the Asana account plan was show up to the talk that a CISO is giving at RSA in San Francisco this week and introduce yourself. That was like the number one sort of thing from the Asana plan. So, it sort of tries to go and figure out like better ways, right, of like kind of breaking into the accounts. We have this sort of like process / atomize that we run that like extracts conclusions and like cross-references them. A lot of like technical network security content. So this is like sort of a process that these sub-agents run. And then this like the sort of phasing of it all is really important too. Like you got to do the research, kind of have Claude verify itself, pass it on to strategy, and then to content. That kind of goes through this sort of like plan mode, teams and swarms, and phases, workers, reviewers. These sort of like patterns, I guess, for using Claude are really effective for these longer running workflows. I mentioned like these kind of tools that we have to kind of push stuff into this. We also like connect to Salesforce and BigQuery and everything. And I think this is something that we're still figuring out how to run autonomously, but I've been running this via the agent SDK, so we can like run this process in the background via 30 target accounts, right? And then like programmatically create those without like doing them one at a time. I guess to brag, I was the top token user at my company and a company of engineers running this agent SDK in the background on a bunch of target accounts because it was just, sort of churning along in the background there. So yeah, that's kind of the ABX workflow.
Wow, I love it. Super interesting. Questions? Oh, here we go. They're coming in already. Let's see. There's a couple questions. Coburn, you want to just come up and ask the questions? If not, we can pick one, but it might be easier.
Oh, let me see. How many accounts are you able to run coordinated? I think that's a good question. I think that like our bottleneck is like the salespeople's review now. And like there's like the bottleneck, it seems like across all of our teams is like the reviewing, and it's not like the content production, because like Claude is sort of doing this like middle 80%. And it's like, is this good or not? Is like the thing that we're really trying to like care about. So I think like it's sort of up to how many emails can the salespeople review and how much content can they review to make sure that ultimately that's a good email to send. But in talking with them, they go, yeah, you have it all in one place. Like I'm not doing the Googling, I'm not doing this other stuff that like ultimately I need to. And they're just sort of going back and forth between a Google Doc and Outreach or something like that. Yeah. So it's definitely like scaled a lot, and like being able to run stuff. We are a network security company. We've sort of separated all of our go-to-market data into Google Cloud out of AWS, which is where like our platform data lives, so that we can sort of like be a little bit safer about YOLO mode on like our data, and then like we're a little bit like isolated from things. Yeah.
Do you have I don't know, what's been like the impact of this? Yeah, I'll just ask that question.
Yeah, I mean, I think like so our salespeople really like they are the change in their behavior is like they weren't really doing outbound, kind of like a lot of the outbound that they were doing. And like it's funny because if you look at some of the account plans, Claude will just straight up call them out because it's going back into our Salesforce, and it'll be like, you sent the same sequence to 4 people at the same company in 2 weeks 2 years
The
ago.
underrated AI and marketing use case.
Yeah,
Have
right.
someone
Like
else call
what?
sales out for being idiots.
Like what were you doing, sort of? And so one rep in particular, I've been like working with a lot on this. He's like, yeah, I can just go in and like review and send something that is personalized, and like that is I didn't ask him, I guess, for the quote on how much time it saved, but it's like it was, yeah, I just follow what you're like doing and cross-referencing, and like I'll make some changes here and there on some of the wording. But I also had Claude in part of this process go in and analyze the sales reps like last 1,000 emails with like a team of agents and come up with a voice guide for each of the sales reps, and then like it writes the like outbound sort of in their voice. So we've tried to get it like a little bit closer to the rep. So I guess like you say, what's the impact? We had a meeting with CrowdStrike last week, so that there's one thing that
Oh, nice.
it's yeah, like we got the meeting, I guess, right? So yeah.
On the account selection side, CrowdStrike had like that past champion. Is this more like you already had a list of target accounts that were created somehow, and now this is helping you work more of them, or is it also helping you select better fit accounts?
This
Or
workflows,
replacing poor fit accounts with good fit accounts on the
yeah.
selection side.
Yeah, that's something that's sort of like a separate challenge, I think, for everyone. Like, what are the good, like, you have like the best accounts, then you have like your warm and hot accounts, and like where's the overlap in those things.
Yeah.
So like specifically, CrowdStrike is like that's just it's like everyone is trying to get that at the company basically. Like it's just that is like sort of a really good target for us. For the other ones that are down the list, like we have target accounts in Salesforce that we're sort of populating this workflow with, but also like how do we figure out what those target accounts are? Like that's something that we use Claude to like look at our signals, right? And like sort of aggregate all of those. We can see like how many DNon website visits, how many like LinkedIn connections do we have with different people. We've gotten our reps like export their LinkedIn connections. Like we've just done like different things like that to try to figure out like what is the like hottest account we can target.
I think at the very least, if your reps are not doing as much outbound as you would like, and you can build a system to help them do more outbound, just that is like a very valuable AI use case, I think, in its own. And then you're layering on like the more account-based ads that are made more easily, landing pages, etc. But even just the like enabling sales to do better outbound.
Totally.
Seems like
I'll
that's
say
really
one thing.
good.
The ABM on LinkedIn is expensive on those ads. We spent a lot of money for like a few hundred people, right? That we're like
Yeah,
ultimately trying to target. But yeah.
that's the game. I have more time. I always have time for these people. If you have to go, no worries. But Johnny, you have to go? You have a
No,
question?
no, no, I don't. Sorry.
All right, cool.
If there's
Yeah,
more questions, I'm
more
curious.
questions for Johnny? General takeaways? Okay, I'm gonna ask real quick. This is the first one of these that we did. Was it good enough that you want to do another one? Just put in the chat if it was, and maybe what you liked about this, or if it sucked, and we should do no more of these. Oh, let's go. Thanks, Danielle. You got me. I don't know what one means, Daniel. I'm gonna,
Hopefully it's not out of 100.
yeah, I'll take it. It's golf scoring for this. All right, wonderful. Uh, Jack McGraw in the chat, shout out, childhood friend, is an engineer. Is this the first webinar, marketing webinar that engineers are attending? I don't know. That's pretty cool. Um, okay,
Hey,
cool.
Eric.
Yeah, any more questions for Jono? We're happy to stay on a little bit. Questions for Jono or just general stuff people want to chat about with the group?
No, but thank you, Eric. This is really awesome. I love that we all get to connect. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Lindsay. Your I don't know what we call this. Your use case was awesome. Yeah, recordings will be sent. All right, well, great. Thanks everyone so much. This is awesome. Yeah, this is just like such an exciting time to be a marketer, and these just so cool to see what everyone's building. So thank you all who shared for sharing, and thank you all who joined for joining. And I'll see you at the next one.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Samantha. All right, see you guys. Bye.